Welcome back. Reporter panel time. We are joined by Nicholas Wu and Daniella Diaz. Nicholas, congressional reporter for Politico. Daniella, politics reporter for NOTUS. Remember, that's news of the U.S. We promoted this going to break. The Epstein files, the Justice Department, about 1% of what's there has been released. That's not in accordance with the law.
Absolutely not. We thought we were going to get the files during that deadline that was set by the House. How many times have I talked about this with you, right, Major? Everyone was expecting it, Republicans and Democrats, because if you remember, let's flash back to right before the holiday season, it was almost a unanimous vote in both chambers. I mean, this is a bipartisan issue, and so far they've released less than 10% of the actual files. DOJ is saying that while they're trying to remove all of the victims' names, trying to any information that could reveal any identities, that's what they're saying is taking a while.
And Nicholas, this does not strike many lawmakers, even Republicans, as living up to the spirit or letter of the law.
Not at all. Remember that this, the Epstein discharge petition and the legislation that came out of that passed through the House and Senate, on a very bipartisan basis. And so, there's a lot of political pressure for DOJ to move on this, but there are the practical realities of releasing everything.
And tomorrow, there will be 2 votes in the House to override President Trump's first vetoes of his second term. What's going to happen?
So what we're expecting is to see a bipartisan majority in the House override vetoes. Remember, hitting that 2/3 threshold to basically undo the president's veto of what were 2 relatively uncontroversial pieces of legislation. One for water projects in Colorado, and the other to assist a tribe in Florida. And these were things that members of Congress were trying to do for their constituents back home. And it appears in some ways that Trump vetoed these for political reasons that were unrelated to the legislation.
And Daniella, there is also going to be a vote tomorrow on the discharge petition that is now ripened to extend existing but now recently expired Obamacare tax credits.
Right. The procedural vote was today. It might be happening right now, is expected to pass. We expect that vote tomorrow to pass. And what it's important to remember when you cover Congress is this is a procedural tool by the minority party, Democrats who don't have the majority, using this tool to force a vote, and joined by Republicans who felt powerless in this situation with their leadership, with President Donald Trump, with Speaker Mike Johnson. These battleground district Republicans saying we need to help our constituents on extending these tax credits because premiums are going up on health care. And that's why we're working with the opposite party to do this. Now, we expect it to pass. How this lands in the Senate remains to be seen, but they're going to have a lot of pressure.
To that point, Nicholas, the Senate is going to be under pressure now because it's going to have these veto overrides it's going to have to deal with. It may set them aside, but it's going to have to do that in full public view, and it's going to have to deal with the Obamacare tax credits.
Right. There's a lot of pressure on senators to do something, whether it's, taking what the House has passed.
1 year, 2 years,
right,
3
exactly.
years, is it reformed? Is the schedule of availability based on income altered in some way? Is there some fraud protection, something?
Right. But the question is, on a more practical basis, now that open enrollment is already happening, whether that deadline has to be moved, whether this will have to be retroactive in some way, there's a lot of questions there, especially as people have already bought their health insurance through
and are feeling the pressure of the price increases there. Very quickly, Daniella, also there's going to be a war powers resolution consideration in the Senate on not just Venezuela, but possibly also Greenland.
Exactly. And this legislation, this measure would actually force the administration to have less power when it comes to moving forward on how they handle Venezuela. But this comes at amidst a lot of briefings that we've been seeing in Congress with national or security officials and lawmakers, where lawmakers are asking, what's next? Right. They don't have any answers to these questions that we're hearing from when we talk to Republicans and Democrats on what they're hearing. And it's going to continue to be an issue on how they're going to handle these issues.
And the White House saying, we have the power, trust us. And Congress saying, maybe not so fast. We'll see how that plays out. Nicholas Wu, Daniella Diaz, as always, it's a great pleasure to have you.